Great. Welcome to Digital Asset News. Take the top stories in crypto and bring them out in bite-sized pieces. So today, just the thumbnail and title suggest, what is it going to take for April to be a better month than we've been having? Because let's be honest, we've been getting kicked in the teeth for quite some time here in the crypto and digital asset space. We're going to take a look at what could potentially be some of those factors and just to give us a little bit of hope, because let's be honest, it's tough out there. So we're going to talk about how March, in my humble opinion, is pretty much over. And will April be better, especially in the US, with tax season coming up and people selling off to pay for said taxes? Also, we're going to quickly talk about the proof of work ban that fell flat in the EU. And lastly, we'll finish up with the talking about FTX and Binance continue their world domination tour as they open up things around the globe. And lastly, we'll do a little Q&A. 5 questions in 5 minutes. We'll go over all those things. So just wait and hold all your questions until the end. So before we do all that stuff, let's take a look at what is going on in the market. We'll do this very quickly. And just so you know, if you're here for the live stream, welcome. I know it's a little bit early. Today's one of those weird days where I have to wake up super early to get out to the beach faster because a lot of things going on, and I want to be out early. So this will be like a super early session. But anyhow, just so you know, if you're watching the replay, which I think most of you will be, timestamps will be below so you can skip ahead and do whatever you want to do. And just remember that if you want to continue the experience, go over to danteachescrypto.com. It's a 100% free website, made it free for you, is free, always will be free. So let's jump into the market. So not a good day. Let's be honest. And I think you know what the market is doing, because probably check your portfolio all the time. So as we know, actually, let me refresh this, because I usually what I like to do is just keep this open from yesterday's video and just see how we're jumping around. Let's see if it's a better day as we reload the page. And it's even worse. That's always a bummer. So Bitcoin's down, Ethereum's down, 225, pretty much choppy sideways. I mean, this is what it's been like, just slowly eating away at your soul as you watch your portfolio dwindle, which is always a bummer. Or depending on how you look at it, you might look at this and go, you know what? This is actually an opportunity to accumulate. However, I will say that it is quite annoying to hear the same things over and over again, where it's like, it's going to go up. It's going to go up. I know, because I'm living this too. And I've been living this way since 2017. So even me, who I've been around for quite some time, it still gets annoying. And it still ticks me off. And I'm like, just get on with it. Let's see some price action. But again, we have to remember we're not perfect. We have our flaws. We just have to sit back and just be a little bit patient, because if we take a look back, things have been going pretty well. Actually, it's been going pretty well for Elrond. Look at that, 7.9%. I think that was because of their license that they got in, I want to say in Romania. Anyhow, good for them. Good for all the Elrond holders. Looks like it's going pretty well. That's probably one of the few ones. Also, Thorchain, go figure. All right, so that's what's going on. And then also, if we take a look at traditional markets, I mean, just because we're down, I mean, how is the traditional markets? Worse. Well, not worse, but for them, this is like catastrophic. 0.74% is just an abysmal day. If we take a look at the S&P 500, that's exactly what we have. But maybe it's been good over 5 days. No, not really. How about a month? How about 6 months? How about 1 year? Yeah, 1 year looks good. 5 years? Oh yeah, looking good. But again, it doesn't really matter, because if you take a look at this and go, if this was me, I still wouldn't be too happy. What about NASDAQ? Because that's how it seems like we're correlated to NASDAQ 500. And yes, even worse, 1 day, 5 day, 1 month, 6 month. How about a year? No. How about 5 years? Okay. So again, everything's down. What's going on? I got to tell you, there's 2 things I see that could really turn this around. And people will say, well, there's all this money coming in, Rob. You don't understand. There's all these hedge funds and there's institutional money. I don't care. I don't care if everybody's coming in. I know that's great for the space. I understand that. But you have to also understand that you're not going to see a massive influx as much as people are talking about, unless we see 2 things. First of all, people are still scared about that war going on in Ukraine and Russia. It's a war. So there is some ambiguity. There are problems that people, as far as investors go, I don't really see what's going on. I don't really trust it. So I'm going to, hop out. The second thing is regulation. Biden came out and he said, look, this is my executive order. We're going to study this. I'm going to pull in the CFTC, the SEC, and the OCC. But until there's some real regulation, because that was just an executive order just to study things. Nothing's changed. So, I mean, it's a step in the right direction. But until those two things, those two narratives change, I don't see a major hop up unless you have a central bank saying we're buying Bitcoin on the balance sheet. That's the only other thing I could see. Or another nation going, we're going to make this legal tender. So even if there's people in the background buying up and they're buying up massively, you're still going to have the flip side of people being scared and selling and going, I'm out of here because I don't trust this and I'm scared about what's going on over here. Those are just my 2 cents. But to give, I know, I'm not all negativity, trust me. To give you a little lightened point, because I like to give a little balance. I'm not a moon boy channel. I don't think that everything's going to go to the moon. And if Bitcoin's going to 100,000 tomorrow, that's stupid. What I see is it's a long play game. And what I'm talking about is this. So March is over. Will April be better? So there's this great website. I've been talking about this. This is my second day. This is Ben's site into the Cryptoverse. There's a couple of things we talked about this yesterday. I want to reiterate what was said. And this is a great one, the crypto market cap and trend line. We talked about this yesterday. The fair value, we're still actually above the fair value in between these two bands. And that's the fair value is like 1.4 trillion. What are we at today? We're at 1.8 trillion. So we're still above where the fair value would be. So what does that mean? We could fall, but it just depends. Crypto is pretty volatile. We can go down like we are under here and we hit these bands. We could go up or just straight trade flat. But I see it, again, to be positive. Over time, the fair value price will just continue to go up. And we could go below that. But I mean, in 2 years, where else are you going to put your money? Like I had Max on, he's a millennial, and he said, look, this is the only place I can do it. I can't put this into bonds and savings. It doesn't work out like that. So that's the first part. Also want to take a look at historic risk levels. And what's great about Ben's site is that everything he does, he puts a video and he explains exactly why this comes in. So if you look in the description, it'll say Ben's into the Cryptoverse. It's not a affiliate link, but it's a great site. So if we take a look at like the risk levels, we are pretty darn low actually. With 0.3, 0.34. So if you're looking at like the riskiest part would be up here where everything's super high. But I did want to show you this, the time in the risk bands. This is actually pretty good. So unfortunately, there has been a lot of days, specifically 1,000+ days where it's in that 0.3 to 0.4. So I know people are like, God dang it, I wish it would go up. That's just how it is. So when we're seeing these things of like 0.3 to 0.4 as far as like risk levels, we're going to be here for a while, I think. And hopefully it can turn around. But that leads me to my next point, which is this. Here's the good news. So these are Bitcoin monthly return tables. And we've talked about this before, but it's important to note that March historically has been a really crappy month for a long time. January, February, not too bad, pretty good actually. But March, just red. And that's over since 2011. April is probably not the best performing month, you could say. I think that's like a December, January potentially type thing. But if we take a look at the negativity as far as like the monthly returns, 1.68 plus 2.9 plus 2.0, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% down maybe. But then you got 34, 20. I mean, some pretty good time frame. And what I was always concerned about was this. I was like, if we take a look at what happens in April in the US, a lot of people got to sell for taxes. But here, April is actually a pretty great month. And then even in February, if you take up these negativities, 8, 30, and 13, that's still not a great month historically. I mean, 2021 was not too bad, but I will say that April could potentially be a pretty good month, which is before I would have thought had been a bad one because people I thought would sell for their taxes. And that historically is not true. So again, two things that could turn that around. One, get out of this war, maybe some peace talks, maybe a little bit of progress in the right direction. And two, a little bit of regulation, concrete, that would come down and say, this is what we want, this is what it is. I know people on this channel, they don't like regulation, but if you really want that, it's a double-edged sword. If you want that big money to come in, those people want regulation. They want a little bit of it. Will they over-regulate? I don't know. Will they under-regulate? Probably not. But it worked out pretty well in the internet days, in the 90s, when Law 230 was passed. It gave the ability for the website owners to not get sued for what people said on their websites. And that was their big issue back in those days. So that allowed the internet to flourish. Who passed that law? Congress passed that law in the United States. And it worked out pretty well. It was a kind of a hands-off approach. So does government always screw up? No. Do they screw up a lot? Yes. So I think if we can just get a little regulation with a lighter approach, I think we'll be okay. Which leads me to my second point, which is this, taxes. So the thing about taxes right now is people believe, first of all, if you take a look at the statistics, people don't even understand what they're supposed to be paying in taxes. This is a report that just came out from Crypto Trader. And I'm going to skip over most of it, actually. This was a sample size from 1,000 adults who own or invest in crypto. So it's only 1,000 people. So take that with a grain of salt. But I found this interesting that more than half of people actually pay their taxes. I thought it'd be much lower, actually, because I didn't think that people would be like, I'm not paying my taxes. Because for as much as I hear in the comments about how taxation is theft and it's awful and da-da-da, I got to tell you, a lot of people pay it. But there's a quarter of people that just don't pay. And then the 17% they prefer not to say, that means they're not paying either. So really, it's like a 50-50 split between people actually paying and not paying. So I'm like, well, maybe that's why April's a pretty good month, so people aren't selling to pay for their taxes. And then this was interesting. A quarter of non-taxpayers didn't know crypto was even taxable. So you got a quarter of people going, I don't think it's really taxable. But I'm just going to ask you this. It's not from my position to say that you should pay your taxes. I'm not your dad. But if you have signed up to any exchange where they've asked you for your name and maybe a license or your social or some type of identifying number, they're probably reporting that to the central government, wherever you're at. So I don't know where you're at, but there's a pretty good chance that the government knows that you've bought crypto and they're tracking that. So just so you know, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you that's what it is. And if you got a quarter of people who don't know what's taxable, it's taxable. There's some caveats, but that's not what I'm here for. And then this was a good one. 20% of non-taxpayers didn't know how to report crypto on their taxes. And this cartoon sums it up right here. Remember what I said about with regulation? I really believe people want to do the right thing. I'm an eternal, I can't say I'm an optimist. I mean, that first intro was pretty bad, but people will say, Rob, you're just naive. You know, people are all evil and they're awful and whatever. I don't believe that people are awful. I think people are pretty good. They want to do the right things in general, within reason, right? And I think when you get these politicians and people in power and they say there's tax evasion and tax fraud and illicit activity, I think they don't know what they're talking about. Really what it comes down to is this. People just don't know how to do it. People just don't know how to report and actually, get their taxes actually paid. And I think it really comes down to is that these guys don't pass the regulation to give the guidance, to give the rules to the game, so we know the ways around the game. And that's what it really comes down for me. And then lastly, where is this? Not this one. Oh, this was funny. Less than 15% of non-taxpayers are actually actively evading taxes. I can't believe people actually admitted this, but they did. Roughly 15% says the government doesn't know about my crypto. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you lost on a boat. I have no idea. Or 6% say I don't want to pay taxes, which that's really 100%. I don't want to pay taxes either, but it is what it is. So the thing where we talked about with April being a bad month, I think people just, first of all, statistically looks pretty good. I thought it would be worse because people have to sell for taxes. Now I find out that people don't know they have to pay taxes. So if you're having troubles, there's a link in the description. CryptoTrader.tax. You get 20% off, and it looks just like that, and you can get done and you can stop fretting and being concerned. I just did it myself. It took me about 30 minutes to set everything up for the API integration, send it over to my CPA, and he's working on it right now. A little bit tricky for me because I'm in Puerto Rico, but that's what we got. So let me know what you think about that. I think April, again, could be good. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm hoping, especially with these things going on, but we'll see. Anyhow, let's move on to our last two sections, and we'll do a Q&A. This was pretty good, actually. I thought that, personally, I thought this was pretty clownish, as I call it, clown news. And what it comes down to was this. There was an EU vote, and people got this way, way wrong. I was watching the YouTubes and the Twitters and different people talk about they're going to ban Bitcoin. They're going to ban this. Well, they're not banning Bitcoin per se. They were trying to ban proof of work. And that was the bigger thing. So really what it comes down to is they didn't even do that. This is what happened. EU Parliament Committee votes against proof of work ban, supports alternative amendment. The proposal includes a de facto ban on proof of work, a last-minute addition to the bill. So they just kind of stuck that in. Patrick Hansen, head of strategy at Unstoppable Finance, says the Econ Committee of the EU Parliament just voted against the de facto proof of work ban. Big relief and political success for the Bitcoin and crypto community. So they even watered it down. They didn't even pass that. That's good. But this is the concerning part. 23 members did vote in favor of the ban. 30 voted against, and 6 abstained. So if you had the 6 that just said, I'm not going to vote, and they all voted in favor, that's 29-30. I mean, it still wouldn't have passed, but that's pretty close. It's amazing to me that how many people are against innovation, but I get it. It's like CTO Larson put out. He said that, if you take all the major European banks, the top 10, they have a lower market cap or lower assets under management than what Bitcoin is actually worth. So it's like, it does make sense. And then there's an alternative amendment, which is actually being supported. So Hansen added that an alternative amendment from the European Parliament member, Stefan Berger, received support instead. So this is what they're going to try to do. By the 1st of January, 2025, so you got 3 years, the Commission shall present to the European Parliament and to Council as appropriate a legislative proposal to amend regulation in accordance with Article 10 of that regulation, with a view to include the EU Sustainable Finance Taxonomy, any crypto asset mining activities that contribute substantially to climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. And we talked about this yesterday, where they have to lay out those standards as to what is the minimal viable product as far as for environmental safety, which they didn't really do in this language. So we'll see. But I just found it quite interesting that they couldn't really get that going, and I'm glad it didn't. So good for us. Anyhow, that's what we got in the clown news. Let me know what you think about it in the comments section, and let's finish up with some more positivity. FTX and Binance, global world domination, or just their world tour, as I type. So crypto exchange FTX wins license, plans regional headquarters in Dubai. So I like to see these stories because it's not stories that it's going to move the price as far as crypto, but what it's going to do is, as time goes on, we get more people in there. It becomes more of a viable product, and people see it as a legit business as you start to expand. It was the same thing as, like, I don't know if you remember this. There's this company called Amazon, and when I first heard about it, I'm like, who's going to buy products, have them shipped into your house? I just go on the street, go to Walmart. It's super easy, right? And now as time goes on, we're like, well, that's silly. So when I see stuff like this, and the reason why Amazon did so well is because they just kept expanding and expanding and expanding. You just saw it everywhere. And I think the same thing is going on with FTX and Binance. I'll explain in a second. So this one right here, FTX Europe, a division of operating in Europe and the Middle East, is among anchors in the Dubai World Trade Center. They will offer complex crypto derivative products with centralized counterparty clearing to institutional markets. So they're going to be set up. It looks like it's already in the works, and they have their license, which looks pretty great. And it's already been approved. And then this was approved by, I think, a virtual asset license in Dubai. Great. Now, so they have that part going. And then Binance also got a crypto license in Dubai under the same program. On top of that, Binance, which is granted a crypto asset service provider from Bahrain's central bank. So Central Bank of Bahrain has awarded crypto exchange BINANCE a license that allows it to operate in the country, providing services including crypto trading, custody, and portfolio management services to Bahraini customers. And they're going everywhere, it seems like. So you've got FTX, you've also got Binance. And again, I think it's good news to spread out. More people hear about crypto, more people to get into it. Hopefully it'll mean a little bit better price action. And if you're looking for some links to sign up for FTX, I've got an affiliate link here. These are all affiliate links, matter of fact. And you get between 25 and 40 for things you sign up for, like Voyager and Celsius, KuCoin, Kraken, all these things. And these are the things I recommend, what I don't recommend, how I compare them, and what's available and what's not. It's a big spreadsheet. You can check it out. Links in the description. It's just called Exchange and Wallet Fees. And yeah, check it out. Now, if you don't have to click on the links, you can go right to ftx.us or ftx. I think it's ftx.com. But yeah, if you don't want to get the bonus, but that's what's going on. So look, that's it for today. So I know it's a little bit early, a little bit quicker, but I just want to get some things done and out of the way. Now it's time to go play a little ball. So look, thanks so much for stopping by. Well, this concludes the news part. We're going to do 5 questions in 5 minutes, and that's it. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. Just say why it sucked, why you hated it, and also consider subscribing. even if you click the thumbs down. And that's it. So thanks so much for sticking around. Let's go into a little Q&A. All right. Ooh, this is a good question. Right off the bat, great questions. All right. I got to tell you, sometimes it's hard to get good questions. Be surprised. Dan, do you think if Cardano takes a nosedive from down to 30 cents, will Cardano fail? No, I don't think that'll fail. I think what'll make it fail is if they don't increase the TPS times. I know they're working on Hydra, 1 million transactions per second. Great. Let's see when that gets rolled out. And then also adoption. Let's be honest. The Sunday Swap DEX wasn't the smoothest ride of all time. Now people will say, but Rob, it's super fast now and it works out great. Sure. But I can tell you that I was talking to some different projects on Cardano yesterday, and they were talking about how there was quite a heavy load on the network. Now, of course, they're talking about increasing the limits of the block space. That's great, but I can only tell you what's going on now. Well, I think if it goes to 30 cents, it'll fail. No, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because the Cardano community is as passionate as the XRP community, as passionate as about a lot of other communities out there. But I think it won't go away just for the community itself. And that's what we got. Great question. All right. Another question. Good question. Do you think regulators will come after synthetic equities? So synthetic equities, I always think as an American, which is, it's a bad way to think, I believe, which I'm like, everything's open to me, right? I can open up Robinhood. I can go to any kind of app, E-Trade. I can go to a broker and I can start trading, stocks like no problem. But people around the world can't do that. So synthetic equities, what they're doing is they're like, if you want to get into Tesla, well, the portion of that we can put on the blockchain, you can trade that back and forth, and that's what we'll do. So do I think the regulators will come after synthetic equities? First of all, if they're here in America, probably. I think that's one of the reasons why Liquid, which was based on Cardano, stepped away from that for a bit. I don't know if they came back to it, but I think look, the government's trying to shut me down. Just kidding. It's just Wi-Fi. Puerto Rico Wi-Fi. So what I think is that in America, they're just going to just not give it to American citizens like everything else, because we're like the pariahs sometimes in economics, in the traditional markets. That's it. Oh, another good question. Dan, do you think Phantom is a good investment right now? Will it be on time soon? So you got to understand that Andre Cronje left that project, and he's like a rock star as far as a developer. Really smart guy, apparently. Never met him. But somebody said, well, the project is done. He completed it and this and that. I'm like, I don't think that projects, as far as I don't think projects are ever done. Look at Microsoft Windows. Do you think Microsoft Windows, when Windows 95 came out, they're like, boom, done, mic drop, we're good to go? No, there's always different issues and ways to improve things. So I don't know if it's a good investment, because really he did a great job, but a lot of people went there for Andre Cronje and what he can do. I guess it really depends on the developers that come in. And it really comes down to, it's not just the developers that make things great. This is why I'm always talking about, if you're going to invest in a project, invest in the UTT. So the utility, what does it do? The tokenomics, is it all going to VCs where they can dump on you and wipe you out? And the last one is the team, because if you know anything, I mean, for business wise, there's a reason why 50% of first-time small business owners fail in the first 3 years. It's because they have a poor business plan. They don't have any marketing, and they can't get their product out there. There's a reason why if you go down to the strip mall in any one of those cities that you live in, you'll see openings for different businesses that were there that just couldn't make it. Not because it was a shitty product. They didn't make it because they just couldn't get their product out into the hands of the people. And I think that's a bigger issue right now. I think in crypto, we've got some really great products, really great people, but not enough to scale, and the marketing is horrible. That's why, unless you're Bitcoin, you don't need marketing for Bitcoin. Actually, you know who does the best marketing? The Federal Reserve does the best marketing for Bitcoin. So that's it. Good question. When Mullet, what's up, man? Sound is cutting out. Probably just the Wi-Fi. Be okay. This is a great question. Question number 4. Dan, it seems like everything in the stock market is going down. Have you lost faith in the market? No. Well, let me say this again. The traditional market, I would think that commodities would be great. Like, I mean, we just saw like what happened with copper, energy sector, oil, great stuff to invest into. But other parts, not so much. And then when we did an in-person interview with Max, millennial, and he was talking about like, look, he goes, if I wanted to make it in the world, he goes, what am I going to invest into? The S&P 500 or stocks in the traditional market? He goes, I've done that. I haven't really gotten too far. He goes, my best bet, it's not real estate because it's super overpriced right now. My best bet is crypto and digital assets because of the asymmetrical return. I think he's right. And I think, again, if we just take a look at some of those charts, good old Ben's website, I mean, this stuff, that's not it. Like he says, the trend is your friend, right? So I can see us going a little bit higher. And if you can double your money, and this is not investment advice, just investment opinion, but if you can double your money in 2 years, I'll take it. And that's at the minimum. And that's if you don't get into some crazy degen plays. Or like my favorite plays right now is actually play to earn games. Those I think are going to be great. And so I didn't really have much faith in the market. The only stocks that I own are Tesla and Amazon, because I got an Amazon a while ago because I have an Amazon business. I just use them, so it's just dumb luck. And then Mara and I think something else, but I don't really deal with traditional stocks. But in the crypto, no. I mean, you have to understand, like, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your skirt and say, you know what, it's all going to $1 million. Just right around the corner. Just good old hard work. You'll be okay. Reality is it's going to take some time. And but I'm here for the time. I got it. And I hope you do too. But if you don't understand. Oh, okay. Audio vision isn't going now, but help you with Wi-Fi. It only cuts out a little bit. It's actually pretty good. Diesel Kane. If there's 21 trillion Satoshis, I mean, we need a $21 trillion market cap. All sats accounted for. Well, I mean, if it's worth that, but I mean, like, it's kind of hard to say, but like, what's a penny worth as opposed to 1 ruble, which is in ruble? You know, what is 1 nickel as opposed to 1 yuan? It's really about just, to me, I don't look at it as like the value. I look at it, I look at things as like purchasing power. And that's the big thing. So who knows, in the future, 1 Satoshi could be equal to what we would consider $10. And when you say, maybe in the future, you say, you know, this used to be worth $10. The kid will look at you like, what are you talking about, old man? We don't even use dollars. Who knows? And then Darth Flyer, we'll finish this up. Long Bitcoin, but I don't see a big rise in price until the grayscale Bitcoin conversion into ETF. True. Yeah, that ETF. If I'm grayscale, I'm already getting the lawyers ready to sue. Yeah. So there's a big hubbub about this ETF coming up. I know, like my friend James over Vest Answers thinks it's right around the corner. I don't think it's happening. That's just me. So, I mean, look, Gary Gensler, I thought he was going to be awesome. The guy was teaching blockchain technology at MIT, right? And he comes out, he was a disaster. So, but, you know, we'll see how that goes. Who was it? There was an amendment, or there was not a law, there was a ratification that was put forth that is compelling Gary Gensler to explain how crypto is hurting individual investors. And if he doesn't respond to that, XYZ happens. But yeah. All right. Yes, man. Okay. Dirty Gary. All right, that's it. I got to go to the beach. So look, if you like today's video and the sun that's blaring in the background, move this right there. There we are. There. If you like today's video and it worked out for you, great. Give us a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. Just tell me why. I'll try to fix it in the future. And that's it for today. So thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. And just remember, I'll put 2 more videos up here if you're watching the replay. You can check out more of the Dan experience, and that's it. So thanks so much for stopping by. I do appreciate it. I'll see you on the next one. Adios.